no surprise that Resident Evil Requiem is amazing. At the time of recording, it's the second highest rated game of 2026, and that's for good reason. For one, Capcom never fails to deliver when it comes to Resident Evil and its RE engine, providing a well-optimized experience alongside an absolutely stunning looking game. It's also incredibly cinematic, full of so many memorable cutscenes and set pieces that range from I'm gonna shit myself scary to adrenaline pumping action to silly out-of-pocket fun that really embraces the iconic B-movie tone the franchise is known for. Likewise, I really enjoyed its dual protagonist setup, interweaving the classic survival horror genre during Grace's section with Leon's action survival horror gameplay. And speaking of Leon and Grace, I just love them so much. They're both so likable and compelling in their own separate ways, and I honestly couldn't get enough of seeing them on screen, with their respective voice actors doing a phenomenal job at making them feel so authentic and alive. There's truly something to like for every kind of Resident Evil fan in this game, and that's the biggest compliment I can give to the 9th mainline entry of a 30-year-long franchise. Everything I just said was going to be the entire review when I first started writing the script for this video, but the more I thought about it, I'd basically be repeating a lot of the same ideas that, at this point, you've probably heard from other YouTubers and content creators. So instead, I wanted to go a little bit off the rails and do something different. And who knows, maybe this will be the dumbest thing you'll ever hear in your life, but still, I'm gonna try my best to explain why this is actually a valid criticism of the game. My name is Andre, and let's talk about why it's actually a problem that Leon farms way too much aura in Resident Evil Requiem. As usual, spoiler warning for the entire game. We need to define what aura, and more importantly, aura farming means. Britannica defines aura as a special quality or feeling that seems to come from a person. To translate that into modern Gen Alpha slang, when someone has aura, it means that they're naturally cool, confident, they got that dog in them basically. Generally speaking, it's pretty much always good to have aura. Aura farming, however, is a little bit more complicated. From a highly credible source called Reddit, a user defines aura farming as the behavior where a person basically does something for the sake of looking cool. In other words, aura farming is the act of being the center of attention, superseding everything that's happening in any given scene. On a surface level, while it's generally a rule of cool moment that's widely accepted when used sparingly, when overdone it can diminish and even compromise the seriousness and weight of certain scenes. Case in point, our main man, Leon S. Kennedy. See, I'm no stranger to Leon's aura farming shenanigans. I must have been like 6 or 7 years old when my dad bought the original RE4 for me, my very first Resident Evil game, and since then, Leon's been the very definition of aura in video games for more than 2 decades now.
Why don't I introduce you to it? It should keep you busy.
Can't remember the name, huh? A senior moment, perhaps.
If you're like me and Leon's your favorite Resident Evil protagonist, then that's exactly what we want and expect as fans of the series. We want to see Leon be the highly competent smartass we know him for. We want to see him talk a lot of shit. We want to see him suplexing and roundhouse kicking fools left and right, even doing some unnecessary flips for shits and giggles. But that level of expectation can be a double-edged sword, and I definitely think that the RE9 developers went a little bit too overboard with the way they characterized Leon, not just in terms of the story, but even in his gameplay elements. When Capcom finally revealed DILF Leon at the Game Awards last year, I remember being so intrigued at where they would take Leon's character. For one, him being so much older than he's ever been in any of the games had so much potential to create a narrative to deconstruct or even reframe his character in some different way. And to its credit, the game does try to do that. He's not the same bright-eyed rookie from RE2 or the spry special agent from RE4 anymore. He's certified UNC status now, though of course he's still rocking the same haircut since the 90s. Now, there are some noticeable differences between young Leon and boomer Leon, most of which is external, his appearance. Likewise, his voice actor, Nick Apostolides, does a gruffer voice with a more intentional and serious tone, despite the fact that 90% of the shit that comes out of his mouth is the complete opposite of serious. We'll talk more about that later. 50-year-old knees right there.
Better than mine.
Dude, for real.
I guess this is my stop.
Bro.
I felt like he had to sound like that. You have to hear the years, the mileage in his voice, all the missions, you have to hear that. And so I played with it quite a bit.
But unfortunately, despite the fact that this iteration of Leon's arguably the most badass he's ever been, Capcom went the route of making him a walking billboard so that he can aura farm even further beyond. Give him a Porsche, give him a Hamilton watch, because why the f not, am I right? In terms of aesthetics, having Leon model these luxury brands just feels so overtly gaudy and ostentatious, and it really takes me out of my immersion when playing RE9 seeing all of this in-game product placement. Like, who actually bought a Porsche from this?
Okay. Is that a Porsche?
Did he put a Porsche ad in? Did Porsche pay?
Porsche. Hey, no
Oh my
way.
god. Bro.
Okay.
To stand on my own soapbox for a second, I do think it sends the wrong message about hyper-consumerism, that if you want to aura farm like Leon, then you gotta drive expensive cars and wear luxury watches, which is absolute bullshit, but that's beside the point. To get back on topic, my main argument is that Leon farms way too much aura, to the detriment not only to his character, but also to the overarching plot. Now, if the sole reason you played RE9 was to experience Leon in his peak aura farming era, then I'm sure you got exactly what you wanted. And to give credit where credit's due, there are so many hilarious memes that have come out because Leon is so over the top, and I'm here for it. I love how big the community has gotten because of RE9, reaching a more mainstream audience who are just having fun with the game. Especially if you've completely bought into the idea that Resident Evil as a franchise was always meant to just be dumb, nonsensical entertainment with cool action and scary set pieces. It's really not that deep, and I agree with you. Aura farm as much as you want. However, we like to go deeper in this channel. We like to challenge norms and understand hidden complexities because I'm a nerd, and if you clicked on this video, sorry, but you're a nerd too. This is where I'm going to introduce a groundbreaking concept called the Law of Diminishing Aura. Now, the Law of Diminishing Aura is very simple. It states that the more frequently you farm aura in a story, the less effective it becomes, and the more it compromises the gravitas of the entire narrative. There are three main ways Leon farms aura in RE9: his presence, his cheesy one-liners, and his action-focused gameplay. Let's start with presence because it's that silent killer that doesn't get talked about often, and this is definitely one of the biggest changes that Leon's had compared to the previous games. In RE9, Leon knows how to mog the camera. The basic action of him stepping out of his Porsche Cayenne evokes aura. Him inspecting the cylinder of his Requiem is aura. He has so much aura that people are out here making thirst traps of him just grunting as he lifts up a heavy object. Bro mogs as naturally as he breathes, which is great, until he takes it a little bit too far. There are way too many moments in this game where Leon just does things for the sake of farming aura. I'm not gonna list all of them because I'd be here all day, but the most memorable ones are from the beginning of the game. Number 1, bro just parks his fucking Porsche in the middle of the road. Doesn't even park it on the side, emergency lights on, nothing. Rich people shit aura. Number 2, he sees this gigantic, hulking, zombie-looking ass carrying an unconscious girl over his shoulders, and he just says this.
You've got to be shitting me.
And number 3, the most egregious example. When a zombie outbreak starts and this lady is clearly gonna maul this dude right in front of him, Leon does absolutely nothing. Doesn't push her aside, roundhouse kick her, shoot her in the face, nothing. He just lets the innocent bystander die because aura?
I need bro to
Leon,
actually...
you just took so much time.
Victor.
He needs to run.
Get Brentwood locked down.
You could have prevented this.
Yeah.
This is like cognitive dissonance if you know who Leon is as a character, because he's deeply traumatized for not being able to save the people in his past. That's literally the crux of the whole meme of the September 1998.
If I could just forget what happened that night. The pain. Even for a second. This time, it can be different.
To me, it just doesn't make sense that he would not lift a finger to help those in need. What, is he too much of a boomer? Reflexes too slow to save this dude? And Homegirl is literally screeching like a zombie. His job for the past like 30 years, by the way, is fucking dealing with zombies. He is an expert zombie killing machine. He should know the ins and outs of zombies, but instead, RE9 makes him look like a clueless idiot who's never seen a zombie outbreak. People are gonna be like, well, obviously he can't just go guns blazing in the middle of a street, and I say fuck that, this is America. And we literally saw him do this in RE4 when Ramon kept yapping. Now that was aura.
You talk too much. Failed! You vulgar, utterly uncivilized!
Furthermore, this is definitely low-hanging fruit at this point for how much it gets talked about, but we gotta mention the scene where Leon lets the nurse get killed near the beginning of the game. I genuinely can't believe people are defending the scene of, oh, Leon knew she was a bad person, so he let her die on purpose. Like, no the fuck he didn't. For fuck's sake, Leon helps Luis in RE4 just fine, despite knowing he used to work for Umbrella. And yes, I get that Ada is a baddie, but Leon helped Ada till the end, despite knowing that she betrayed and played the hell out of him.
And you shoot me. But I don't think you can.
Why do you think that? Like, why would you possibly think that? We've known her for an hour. Well, he was right.
Leon is a good dude. He's the type to help people in need, no matter who they are, and that's what makes him a compelling character. It's his strength and flaw at the same time. I don't know, to me, the sequence of events just makes absolutely no sense. To be completely honest, this entire scene inspired me to make this video because that shit was so nonsensical to me, and the only plausible motive he had was so that he could farm aura and say that dumbass one-liner.
Second opinion.
No thanks, bro.
Also, right after this, there's that one aura farming scene where he uses the fucking chainsaw to cut a deadbolt, even though the lock was on his side. But you know what? Whatever. We'll let that slide. Speaking of, let's talk about Leon's cheesy one-liners.
He like stands up from the rubble and he like jumps out, slaps Leon. Oh, fuck this guy.
Every time Leon is on screen and his mouth opens, the game turns into a comedy. For the life of him, Leon cannot take anything seriously.
Or we can begin your treatment. A silent treatment, I hope.
What this fucking bitch is his one-liners.
Deadass, there was a point in the first half of the game where I was keeping mental note if he will ever say anything of substance, and the answer is no, he doesn't.
You know, I do have a question. When's the last time you brushed your teeth?
Why are you the way that you are?
But Andre, you love RE4 because it's so cheesy, don't you? And you're absolutely right about that, though the main difference is that RE4 is unabashedly more of a horror-themed carnival ride from start to finish, whereas RE9 tries to insert a serious character arc for Leon that I think falls flat on its face. Referencing back to the Law of Diminishing Aura, I'm not saying that Leon can't crack a joke here and there. That's an integral part of his character, and I don't want to see that go away. The problem is that every single fucking line of his dialogue is a one-liner, especially in the first half.
Sorry, but I'm not on the menu.
We get used to him throwing out bangers that it becomes a minigame of, let's see what kind of zinger Leon's gonna say next.
Let me guess. You must be the town lumberjack.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
And obviously, that's entirely subjective and maybe I'm the problem, but him not taking things seriously is definitely a factor of why I can't emotionally connect with Leon during the points that the game clearly wanted me to. Finally, let's talk about gameplay. The first half of RE9 has a perfect balance of 80% Chud Grace gameplay versus 20% Chad Leon gameplay. In the very beginning, I was too scared and stressed out to really appreciate how much I actually enjoyed Grace's sections way more than Leon's. From the Renwood Hotel to the Rhodes Hill Chronic Care Center, basement included, I remember complaining how short Leon's sections were compared to Grace's. Because whenever I played as Grace, I hated being in a state of powerlessness, that I had to constantly stumble away from enemies and scrounge up whatever resources I could. Truly, it was high cortisol gaming, but that's designed on purpose. It's the classic survival horror formula done very, very well. And then you periodically switch over to Leon, which I can only describe as pure catharsis. As Leon, remember that you're not playing a survival horror game anymore. The zombies are. Going from desperately avoiding death to being the one dealing all the death is ingenious because the devs in the beginning clearly understood that less is more for Leon. Every shot taken, every melee attack, every single perfect parry, Leon's combat in the first few hours of the game is pure cinema. And it's just dopamine hit after dopamine hit after dopamine hit. But remember that too much dopamine is bad for you because you eventually become desensitized to its effects. Ergo, the Law of Diminishing Aura. Thankfully, Leon's sections are so sparse in the first half that we're effectively microdosing Leon's aura farming gameplay. We don't clearly see the flaws because we don't have much time to internalize its gameplay systems. It's like you blink and it's over, and now you're like a crackhead craving for more. But then we get to the second half of the game where it's mostly Leon focused, and we start to see why Leon's gameplay sections aren't as good as it initially seemed. What the f- Ow, my head hurt!
Yeah, nice.
Oh my god.
Okay. Quick scope.
Oh.
Damn.
Dude, I'm so bad right now, holy shit. For this video, I replayed a decent chunk of RE4 Remake, and this might be a hot take, but 4 Remake's combat loop is so much better than RE9's. I already made a video reviewing the combat system in RE4 Remake, so feel free to check that out if you'd like. In it, I actually praised the idea of the knife becoming an expendable resource because it got significantly buffed in the remake. For the price of durability, you can parry attacks, block chainsaws, execute down enemies, stealth kill, and use it to get out of grabs. In RE9, they replaced Leon's knife with a hatchet, and it basically does the exact same things, except that it's effectively an infinite resource. Yes, it technically breaks now and then, but you can pretty much just reload it by sharpening it for like 2 seconds. Whereas you actually had to use the knife wisely in RE4 Remake, in RE9 you can use the hatchet ad nauseum. Now, if you actually get to fight varied and interesting enemies, maybe it wouldn't have been such a big problem. Maybe if the environments and level design were better, it would mask the fact that Leon's movement is clunky, and the selection of weapons is just not as deep and clearly inferior to previous games like RE4. But unfortunately, most of the zombies in the second half are terribly boring enemies to fight, especially once we get to Raccoon City. Suddenly, the cool melee attacks and animated finishers for the sake of style points aren't hitting as hard as they used to in the first half of the game. I think the design philosophy regarding Leon's hatchet is that he needs to be cooler than ever, and his hatchet is the solution to elevate his aura, and it does that very well from a gameplay perspective. There are even things that people are parrying that I didn't know were parryable when I was playing the game, which is super funny as a meme, but it completely destroys my capability to suspend disbelief. But I guess we got Chris punching boulders in RE5, so who knows. At a certain point, this isn't even action survival horror anymore, it's just action. The game abandons resource management and strategic gameplay and instead turns into a complete power fantasy. And unfortunately, I just got really bored of that area, and I remember just feeling I wanted to get over it already and move on. There we go, it's fucking done.
You did it! Nice.
It also doesn't help that Raccoon City got bombed to high hell, and everything from the environment to the enemies are just so drab, colorless, and uninteresting. But to be fair, I did like that ending level with the lab and such, but that's just beside the point. The only bright side of this entire area was that dumb over-the-top on-rails bike section, which always sucked in my opinion, but I appreciate it for what it is. Dumb fun in a video game.
Oh, what the fuck, man?
There's a bazooka!
Recipe for Granny, she got hit by a bazooka, bro! Oh, hell no. From RE4 onwards, Leon is largely considered a static character, or a character who undergoes little to no change. Don't get it twisted, being a static character isn't necessarily a bad thing. In fact, most of the notorious aura farmers in media are static characters. Think Piccolo from Dragon Ball, Itachi from Naruto, or Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen. I'd even argue that you kinda have to be a static character in this case because it's hard to aura farm when you give your characters a complex character arc. And to clarify, every character has the potential to aura farm. Personally speaking, and this is why I even made this video, I wanted Leon in RE9 to be more than just a static character, to go on an arc that evolves his character to the next level, kind of like his transformation between RE2 and RE4. For all the superficial things they changed about Leon from the outside, I wish the devs put in more effort changing him from the inside, to give the player a reason to connect with Leon on a more personal level. But instead, we kind of just get Leon as he is, and we idolize him for all the things that he does. I will say that I did enjoy seeing Leon finally face his trauma head-on, going back to Raccoon City, the place where it all started. Sure, it's largely a fan service moment for all the Resident Evil fans out there, especially our RE2 enjoyers, but there was an attempt, a lousy one, to actually show some emotion in the game for once. But unfortunately for me, that doesn't really happen, and his incessant, non-stop need to aura farm is the main culprit. Oh shit! Persona!
Stop! Oh my god.
Before you write your angry comments disagreeing with my hot take, please refer back to the beginning of this video because I genuinely like Resident Evil Requiem. I focused mainly about Leon, and I just need to give Grace some props for being the most relatable Resident Evil main character ever. I love her character so much, and her character arc is definitely the focal point of the narrative. As such, I'm gonna give the game a solid 8.5 out of 10. This video isn't necessarily rage bait, but it's also not completely serious. I'm talking about Aura, for fuck's sake, and like many of you, it really isn't that deep of a video game, and I don't pretend it to be. Still though, what do you think about Leon's aura farming shenanigans? Do you agree that it's way too over the top, or do you think I'm just being overtly nitpicky? Let me know in the comments under the like button, and please make sure to subscribe if you want to see more Resident Evil content in the near future. Thank you for watching me ramble, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
It's people fucking Andre.
Oh!
Oh, whoa, he just ate your dick.